We are under an hour away from a monumental Saturday in the 2024 college football season kicking off. It is week 7 in CFB. It is Saturday, October 12th. It's our third and final hour live right here on College Football Today on SportsGrid. He is the mastermind of the college football pigskin. That is Joe Lisi. He is OK Dubs. That is Kevin Walsh. I am Ben Stevens. We have 3 ranked versus ranked top 25 tilts on this second full Saturday in October. We've got a rivalry at the Texas State Fair. We've got new conference matchups in the Big Ten, and we've got some very significant SEC and Big 12 battles to break down in this third and final hour. And Lisi guy kind of headlining the marquee. It's 2 versus 3. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Oregon. Tonight inside Autzen Stadium, where the quarterback comparison will be on full display. Now, Will Howard has so much offensive talent at his disposal, as does Dillon Gabriel. Will Howard has the legs. Dillon Gabriel has the left arm. How do these two quarterbacks compare tonight in Eugene?
Well, I think if we're looking at the head-to-head, I favor Gabriel for a couple of factors. One, completion percentage, 77%. Now, he dipped from 81 to 82 in about 2 games ago, but he's still completing basically almost 8 of 10 passes. He rarely turns the football over. He's played in these big games before. And, again, the offensive line has protected him over the past 3 weeks. So, again, if we're looking at the head-to-head, I would take a shot on Gabriel over the 250.5 over Will Howard. Sold out there for a second.
You just don't like him, so you kind of forgot his name.
No. The reason why I say in regards to Ohio State, because their rushing attack is prevalent. 227 rushing yards per game. The difference with Ohio State is last year they were $138 on the ground. They're averaging 6.2 yards per rush. So if the rushing attack is good tonight for Ohio State, Will Howard doesn't need to do that much. That's why I lean to Dillon Gabriel, 275, 300. And I still think Jordan James can eat in this matchup, Kev.
Yeah, I'm very interested, of course, in this game through the Heisman angle. Mm-hmm. I placed the Gabriel bet heading into the matchup with UCLA, looking for a breakout. 278, 3 touchdowns, threw a pick. It could have been better. It was fine. Then the game up against Michigan State, primetime, standalone. Let's prove it. Terrible picks in that game. Still threw 2 touchdowns, still got over 250 yards, added 1 on the ground. None of it was breakout. Now, the number hasn't tanked because they are still unbeaten. But Dillon Gabriel with a 303 game in a win against Ohio State is going to shoot up this board, which is what I'm hoping on. But I got to tell you, the Will Howard number is stunning. He has longer odds than Jeremiah Smith. That is inaccurate. Jeremiah Smith is not winning the Heisman Trophy. Will Howard still plays the appropriate position. Howard still has a top 10 passer rating through college football. 71.5% of his passes, Lisi. He's thrown 12 touchdowns. He's ran 4 in. I'm not betting Will Howard. I really do not think he's going to win it because of how many guys there are on Ohio State. But the value part of me goes, come on, he's more odds than Jeremiah Smith. That can't be.
453 yards for Jeremiah Smith, 6 receiving touchdowns this year. So there is that component. He's the guy that makes it happen through the air offensively because we don't really anticipate Will Howard lighting it up for 350 and 4 touchdowns despite Ohio State's offense being prolific, being one of the 10 teams in the country to rank top 10 in scoring in total offense, scoring in total defense. Best scoring defense, allowing less than a touchdown per game on average. Best total defense as well. Very difficult test for Oregon and Dillon Gabriel moving the football tonight. I will say this about Will Howard. He has scored in 4 straight games on the ground, plus 145. We talked some pay dirt picks a little bit ago. And for Dillon Gabriel, off to a sensational start this season. 83% completion percentage in his first 3 games. 76% or less in both of the Big Ten matchups for the Ducks. And, Kev, you mentioned the multiple interceptions last week against Michigan State. Both coming in scoring opportunities inside the red zone. Cannot have those mistakes tonight against a really stout Ohio State defense. Our next quarterback comparison is in our next top 15 tilt, also in primetime. A night game in Death Valley, 13th ranked LSU, 9th ranked Ole Miss. Now, the Red and Rebs, a 3.5-point road favorite, Kev. So if LSU, who is so great at night games inside Tiger Stadium, is going to pull off the mild upset, just as you look at those magnificent offensive numbers for Garrett Nussmeier, how good does he have to be?
Yeah, I think that both of these quarterbacks are going to be up against it here, man. It's incredible because this game does not have the full buzz from a quarterback head-to-head that Dart Daniels had, which is understandable. But, man, does Nussmeier have huge passing totals this year. But, again, so does Dart. It is interesting to see these Dart numbers still held down to where it is. I don't know if it's the wide receiver questions, Lisi. I don't think it's the LSU defense keeping those numbers depressed. I think Jackson Dart, having 350 yards, it really would not surprise me. I chased them all with him last week. The only reason I didn't get there is South Carolina's offense allowed Ole Miss to shut down shop. Dart, again, statistically this year, has been comfortably one of your 5 best quarterbacks in college football.
I took both of them. I got better numbers. I got 284 the other night on Dart. I got 300 flat on Nussmeier. Nussmeier's lowest total all year, I believe, is 285. On the flip side, we talked about the progression of Ole Miss in regards to the passing attack. He has slipped in regards to completion percentage in terms of, where he was against Middle Tennessee State. I mentioned 261, 285, which would be under that number technically. But I still think in order for Jackson Dart and Ole Miss, they need him to throw it a ton today. So if this game gets up-tempo and both of these guys start chucking, I lean to Nussmeier being more important because of the rushing attack of Ole Miss. LSU's been a little inconsistent with the three-headed monster, Durham and Josh Williams back there. But still, Jackson Dart could get over that number and throw for 3.25 today.
The run game is interesting for LSU. Josh Williams was the leading rusher against UCLA, but the true freshman from OKC, Caden Durham, has been a bright spot. Against South Alabama, 98 yards or 128 yards and a touchdown, 98 and 2 touchdowns in that breakout spot in Columbia against South Carolina. Garrett Nussmeier again, averaging 330 passing yards per game, at least 285 in all 5 for LSU. Jackson Dart is college football's second leading passer with 2,100 passing yards, but in SEC play, 285 or less. They beat South Carolina 27-3. He didn't throw a touchdown. Last year, though, more than 400 total yards of offense from Dart himself in 5 total touchdowns. Let's get to our next marquee matchup and this quarterback comparison. It's in Los Angeles this afternoon, Joe. Miller Moss and SC looking for a bounce back. Drew Aller and Penn State looking to start 6-0 for the second consecutive season. You have mentioned, although he's been more efficient, Aller, this year, you're not overwhelmingly impressed in this Andy Kotelnicki offense. How could Drew Aller impress you today against SC?
Well, if he throws for 250 on that USC defense and they put up a 35 or a 40 spot and let's say win convincingly 17 double digits, then that's a really good effort on the road. I will say out of both quarterbacks, he doesn't really need to be through the 206 because if that rushing attack gets going, he might not have to do all that much when we talk about Michigan pounding for 290 against USC and then 193 with Minnesota. So it's very important for Miller Moss to get through that 243.5, 250 because then they're pushing tempo and putting the pressure on Aller. That's the only way USC can win it.
Game number 1. The takeaway, oh, wow, Lincoln did it again. Miller Moss completing 75% of the passes, 378 yards. Pretty much everything since has been underwhelming and makes you wonder, maybe he can't take every guy and turn him into the first overall pick and a Heisman Trophy winner.
At least 30 pass attempts for Moss in all 5 games for Southern Cal, so the opportunities will be there, but 4 interceptions in the last 3 Big Ten games. Against the 2 ranked opponents, though, at least 283 yards from Miller Moss. A huge Saturday in the Big 12. It's next.
we're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board.
He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Cheney Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a significant Saturday in the Big 12 with a focus on Boulder, Colorado. There is also a focus at the top of the Heisman Trophy odds board, and it looks a lot different than the last decade or so. We've got two non-quarterbacks booked as your two favorites to win the Heisman Trophy this season. Boise State's running back Ashton Jeanty off to a sensational and historic pace in the first 5 games for the Broncos. And the guy that does it all on either side of the football, that's Travis Hunter for Colorado, one of the leading wide receivers in the country, one of the better defensive backs in the sport as well, somehow, some way. We will get to Jeanty, the ridiculous numbers he is expected to put up today against Hawaii, but we start, Kev, not only with Travis Hunter, but a huge Saturday night in CU. A lot of people bet the Buffs this year because of the Deion Sanders notoriety to win the Big 12. A lot of public attention into Colorado. A heavy betting handle and liability for the books for Colorado to win the Big 12. But a team with a 5.5 win total entering the year who was 4-8 last year didn't seem realistic. It is now. Colorado is 4-1. 18th ranked K-State is 4-1. But the Buffs are the unbeaten side in Big 12 play, off to a 2-0 start. A home underdog tonight in Boulder. How do you see it playing out?
So I can only look Kansas State in this game here at 3.5. I am a believer in Kansas State, which I was not preseason. I have really liked what I have seen from them. I do believe the game against BYU was a little bit flukier. But I'm not going to lay this number here on the road against Colorado because the Buffs' performance against UCF, you never want to try and buy high. That is by far the best thing they have done under Deion. Mm-hmm. Forget the TCU win. That TCU team ended up not being all that good. That was amazing. I'm not going to, I'm not trying to downplay it, but the win against UCF is what is leading us to feel that this is nearly on par with all these ranked monster games that the bigger conferences are providing. So while I lean K-State, I back off and put my action on the guy we key on in Travis Hunter. 95.5, he blows through this. First game all year, he comes off of not having 100 yards. and he landed at 89. It is the first game in his career that he caught 8 or more passes and did not have 100 yards. His receptions prop 7.5, and it's nearly minus 140 towards the over. T.T. McMillan put up a $138, while Noah Fafita only had 268.
Yeah.
Tulane and Oklahoma State both sent wide receivers into the 125 marker. I think Travis Hunter, in the biggest game in the Deion time in college football, because this is what he does. He shines, Lisi, over 95.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I do not like this game from the gambling perspective. A couple of factors. I lean K-State to your point because I think they're a little bit more physical, but I'm a little concerned in regards to the last 2 road performances, right? The first road game was Tulane. They were a double-digit favorite.
Yeah.
They should have lost that game, but they steal it by 7 points. They then go on the road to Provo. They get absolutely boat raced by BYU in regards to that matchup. Completely look like a deer in the headlights. You believe that Kansas State is the more physical team, right? And that's why I liked UCF, because I thought they were able to establish the line of scrimmage, run the football, a mobile quarterback in KJ Jefferson, and that's where I feel K-State has the advantage with Avery Johnson. But again, Kevin's right. If they start fast, tempo-wise, where they're throwing over the top and the offensive line is protecting Shedeur, then this could be a long day for K-State, because they are not built in regards to the passing attack to throw from behind. And that is the concern for me. They haven't played since 2010. Lean Kansas State, but I don't love it.
K-State this year just 2-3 against the number, albeit 2 covers in their last 3 games against Big 12 teams, despite the Arizona game being non-conference. Chris Kleiman took over in the Little Apple in Manhattan, Kansas in 2019. In that span, Kansas State is 41-24-3 against the spread. That's a cover percentage of 63%. It's the best among all FBS programs in the last 6 years now. In Big 12 play, 30-16-3 against the number, best in the Big 12 Conference. Colorado, a great underdog, though, under Deion Sanders, 7-3 ATS, just 2 outright victories, including the game against Central Florida a few weekends ago. 55.5 the total. I actually think we see some offense tonight. Colorado's defense has been a lot better. They allowed nearly 35 points per game last year, 3rd worst Power 4 scoring defense, only 23 so far this season. Travis Hunter, a big component of that. But Kansas State has been exposed through the air. They're allowing 244 yards per game. Alan Bowman and Darian Mensah, the 2 guys you mentioned in those games, 364 for Oklahoma State and Alan Bowman, 342 through the air for the true freshman Mensah and Tulane. But I do think Colorado struggles to defend DJ Giddens and Avery Johnson tonight. I give the edge to K-State. Travis Hunter, just want to make this point, has played 620 total snaps this year. He is averaging 124 snaps per game, and he has the 8th most receiving yards in college football. Also, 2 interceptions, 3 passes defended, and a forced fumble that ended that Baylor game in overtime. He is certainly deserving of that second-best price. But the Heisman Trophy favorite is Boise State's Ashton Jeanty, plus 240 for the Broncos running back. He is averaging 129 rushing yards per half. He has more than 1,000 through 5 games. He is on pace for more than 2,800, which would blow out Barry Sanders' FBS record from 1988 of 2,628. Kev, Ashton Jeanty is on pace for a Heisman Trophy, and Boise State needs to keep winning. A favorite tonight against Hawaii.
Here's the craziest, I think, Ashton Jeanty stat to me. He is tied for 17th in college football in attempts. What? He's not even in top 10 in rushing attempts. And I'm not saying that he's being underused. The fact, what if he was getting the Amari and Hampton workload here? Would he already be at 2,000? The number that I pointed out last week is available again at surprising price, minus 120 for him to score the first Boise touchdown.
Yeah, I'm going to take a shot. I like Hawaii as a home dog, but I think Jeanty under 200 rushing yards today. They have held 3 opponents under 100, only giving up $120.
Famous last words. A huge Saturday continues up next.
we're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board.
He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the what? Obviously, Terrence Channing Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach. Here from the Giants, but they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles, and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Check Llama.
Welcome back to College Football Today, live right here on SportsGrid. We've got three other ranked teams in action on this second Saturday in October. We preview each and every one of those games, again, including a huge Saturday in the Big 12 where games are expected to be close, competitive, and will have implications for that conference championship race. However, we start in the SEC, where it's another very large spread for Mississippi State as an underdog. They were catching 37.5 against Texas. They're getting 32 and a hook today between the hedges in Athens against the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia, not one of the teams exposed to the chaos of college football a weekend ago. They did bounce back against Auburn 31-13, however, did not cover in that game, laying 3 scores. In fact, Lisi Guy, Georgia 0-3 ATS in SEC play so far this year. They were 16-12 against the number in the last 3 years entering. Can the Bulldogs cover 32.5?
They can, because Miss State, again, a little bit one-dimensional with their offense attack. I think Miss State will look to run the football the way they did against Texas, shorten the game and try to get it into the fourth quarter because quarterback play isn't at an elite level. I thought Georgia would bounce back with a win, but I also thought they would cover that large number against Auburn, right? They get the win. It's a little ugly in regards to how they grind it out, and then they do have Texas on deck. There's always the potential look ahead, lay in such a huge number. I can only look Georgia here, guys. You know, I'll just say this. They've won 4 straight in the series. And another factor, if we're looking big picture, we know they have a great quarterback in Carson Beck. But we talk about the dominance of them running the football, and we talk about that crazy stat that I used to talk about last year. Every time they're over 200, dating back since 2016, 49-0. That's a 49-0. FBS opponents are 45-0 every time Georgia's pounded the rock for over 200. This year, no game over 200 yards. They're going to need it next week. I'm just going to say that against Texas, but can only look Georgia here.
So, to me, I look Georgia because I still think they are, pound for pound, the best team in college football. And I saw Texas with Arch lay 6 more points than this. Spread math tells me go Bulldogs. I pulled back, though, because the Texas number was just completely out of bounds, so I don't want to base too much. I mean, they didn't score 38. And 38.5, they scored 35, right? They were never covering that number. Carson Beck over 280.5 passing yards is the number that I look for. If you look last season when Beck and Georgia won by 27 plus, he averaged 318 yards per game there. We've not seen it this year, but at some point they have to let him open it up. Just a quick thing. The last 3 games, Miss State's pass defense is not just allowing 295.7 and 10.2 yards per attempt. 86.2 completion percentage. Goodness gracious.
And I think Graham Mertz in Florida were in the 90s.
26 of 28.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And that was pretty much all DJ Lagway, which is nuts in that matchup. Graham Mertz was sensational against Mississippi State, who is the worst rushing defense in the SEC. You talk about the ground game. I think you're getting a slightly low number on Trevor Etienne. I expect him to go over 85.5. I think it's a big day for Georgia at home in Athens. All right, 2 monumental Big 12 matchups. Iowa State is 5-0 for the first time since 1980, looking for its first 6-0 unbeaten start since 1938. They are a road favorite tonight, Kev, in Morgantown against West Virginia, a Mountaineers team that has won 2 straight games, covered in 2 straight after a slow start this year. How do you break down the matchup?
It's a tricky spot, man. Preseason, if you were to see this number, you'd be like, whoa, Mountaineers, they're supposed to be in the mix, not getting a lot of respect. Then you look at the 11 rank for Iowa State, you go, whoa, short number. I peel back a little bit, though, now on West Virginia. You got smashed by Penn State. Okay, you're not of that level. The Pitt thing was very, very fluky. Now, the Kansas win was a bit nuts as well. They dominate Oklahoma State, though, and now I start to wonder, does West Virginia's offense have its level? I think the safest way for me, Lisi, would be a team total on the Mountaineers side.
Yeah, I like West Virginia here, plus the 3. The fact that they're playing at home is the difference. Last time that Iowa State was here, they lost as a 6.5-point favorite on the road, 38-31. So give me West Virginia in a bounce-back spot. I think they can run the football. And typically, even though they're 2-0 on the road this year, Matt Campbell, very suspect over the last 3 years on the road or on a neutral field.
The Clones have covered in all 4 games against FBS competition this season. Another one that is huge in the Big 12 out in Provo during daytime hours between unbeaten BYU and Arizona. Now just a 2.5-point spread in favor of the Cougs. We'll talk about this game in our betting cards when we start to give you the best bets for Week 7. Up next.
We're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number 1 overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number 1 overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
If you're sliding DiVincenzo to the what? Obviously, Terrence Cheney Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. they're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on College Football Today. It's a monumental Week 7 slate in college football. And now it's our time to give you the betting cards. We will do the big games, and there are a ton of them to round out the show. A lot of them starting 3:30 p.m. Eastern time or later, so a ton of time to lock in your best bets. But for the other games around the nation, it is time to lock in to the betting cards. Lisi, let me lead off, and then I'll pitch it over to you for the game we just finished with. It's Arizona and BYU. The Cougs early in the week, a 3.5-point home favorite in Provo, where they have been great. Now it's down to only 2.5. Arizona has been disappointing. 1-2 straight up this year against power conference competition. BYU is one of 12 remaining undefeated teams, 5-0 straight up, one of those 3 remaining unbeatens that is also perfect against the number, 5-0 ATS. And I'm sorry to say this, Human Algo, but we see it the same way today. I think the Cats pull off the upset in Provo.
I'm with you. We talk about speed teams potentially challenging BYU secondary over the top, and that's what Noah Fafita and, more importantly, the big play wide receiver McMillan have. Struggled with a pretty good defense in Texas Tech. They contain them. I think this is a breakout spot. I liked it at 5.5, still like it at 2.5. I think they win the ball game outright, Ben, and I think BYU does have one loss on the year.
I want to make a point on this game. So, to me, this is the first time that BYU has been respected by the books.
Yeah.
K-State showed up. That number closed over a touchdown in the building. They go to Baylor. They're catching, I think, 3 and a hook.
Right.
So, now they're laying a number. It is pretty interesting that the first time it's like, wow, the books really like BYU. It's 2.5 at home where you never lose off of a bye. BYU is giving me, and I want to be very careful here because of how far the team went, 2022 TCU vibes. Not that they're going to make it the national title, but that TCU team spent the whole season where it's like, man, see, the books hate TCU. Ooh, TCU's a fraud. And then they just sneak out of cover. Random really good game, told you they're great, sneak out of cover.
Yeah.
Again, if you were to say, hey, BYU, Arizona, close your eyes, what do you like? Well, I like Arizona.
Right.
I'm catching 6.
Yeah.
2.5.
Well, yeah.
I can't
But
knock
if
that
you
there,
like
man.
BYU, jump on it because this is a great number.
Sure.
I look at 2.5 as almost like a pick, right? Even though there's 2 points in college football and NFL, it's very rare. It comes down 21,
sure.
20, 22.
College kicker is different animal.
Right.
Arizona really good as an underdog. 7-1 against the spread in the last 2 years. 4 outright wins. Noah Fafita has to be better. We remember the first game of the year, 4 touchdowns, an interception against New Mexico. In the 4 games since, 3 touchdowns, only to 5 interceptions. Last week, though, on display again, Fafita and McMillan, 301 yards against Texas Tech, albeit 2 interceptions. $161 to T-Mac, to Teteroa McMillan, who has 49% of the overall yardage output for Fafita this year. I do want to follow with this, and then we'll go right into our betting cards back to the mastermind. BYU is 28-3 straight up in primetime, in nighttime hours, in matchups. It did not get them in Waco, but they are only 10-14 straight up when the sun is shining. This is not 10:15 p.m. Eastern time. It's 4 p.m. Eastern time, part of the handicap for Zona as well. Again, big game best bets in the final 2 segments. So, Lisi, guy, everything else on the betting slate for Week 7.
Yeah, so I'll jump right into that Oklahoma game. I like Oklahoma in regards to plus 14.5 in regards to the matchup. I just like the quarterback breakdown in regards to Hawkins, and I like the defense for Brent Venables in this matchup. I know why he's laughing, because I went with Florida too, right? Florida, I like Florida plus the 15.5 in regards to this matchup as well. We talk about Florida in regards to the series, 7 of 8 over the past 8 years, and they won last year. I like Graham Mertz. Lagway, I think, gets involved. And Billy Napier, to me, now down to 14.5, playing with house money. They get the victory over UCF. I like the way the defense has performed. I think the Gators could be live potentially to strike the upset. We'll see how that plays out in regards to that matchup. A couple of other early ones. I like Purdue. I know the quarterback James is a freshman in terms of this matchup. They've won 4 straight in the series. They dominated last year. They now catching 22.5 from 18.5. Illinois is good. They're not elite. Give me the Boilermakers plus the points. I like NC State later tonight. I know Syracuse, dominant win in overtime. Kyle McCord, 360 plus in regards to that performance. They're 4-1. NC State, the past 3.5 years under Dave Doran, he's 21-4 straight up at home in Raleigh. They're catching 3.5. They almost had Wake Forest on the ropes. Couldn't close it out. They're 3-1 this year. Give me NC State plus the points. UCF, I think, bounces back with a dominant effort. They've lost 2 straight. They're playing Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati coming back to earth. Not that very good against the run. R.J. Harvey, K.J. Jefferson, I think, break out. The heat for UCF in regards to a home matchup, I think could be a factor in that ball game. So I think they win it by double digits. One of my better bets. I took over Vanderbilt, Kentucky. We talk about the last 4 meetings, a total 58.8 points per game average. This is 14 points discount. Give me party over in regards to this ball game.
I think it's a really good betting card, Lisi guy. In terms of Illinois, I will say this. Yes, they have the matchup advantage. Yes, it's a Purdue offense and defense mightily struggling this year. But as a favorite under Brett Bielema, just 7-10-2 against the spread. Kevin Walsh, your Week 7 betting card is what?
All right, again, we're outside of the big games here, so 4 outside of the 5 we'll get to. It leaves us 1 short of double digits. Oh, no.
Why?
UAB plus 27.
Yeah, the Bagel Best Bet, baby.
We're up to 10. South Carolina, team total over 14.5. At 13.5, this would be a best bet. The more I've thought on this game, though, I think that this is into the mid-60s. I played over 65.5 as an alt. I've talked about Kalen DeBoer off of a loss. He allowed the opponents to go over their team total on average by 17 points while at Washington. South Carolina with 30 points in 2 of their 3 SEC games. They moved it more than the eyes would suggest against Ole Miss. Expect big points. Expect no points in Missouri UMass. UMass is not scoring more than 10 in this football game, and Mizzou is not a team that likes to score 45-50 against the bad teams, which is what they are playing in UMass. I like under 54.5. I like Beck over 285.5. It's a breakout spot for him against one of the worst secondaries in college football in Mississippi State, allowing the last 3 quarterbacks they've faced to complete more than 10 yards per pass attempt and over 85% completion percentage. And then a little shot here. Riley Leonard, 2+ passing touchdowns, getting plus 165. Hit this last time out against Louisville, going up against the secondary in Stanford that has allowed all of the power opponent quarterbacks they've faced so far, 4 of them, to have 2+ passing touchdowns here. Riley Leonard starting to get even more comfortable in this Notre Dame offense, I think puts 2 on the board, Ben.
I look at this game, Kev, and what you just mentioned as well for Missouri and UMass, and that's where I'll begin as well. Under 54.5, rather, because we talked about it for Missouri. They're 0-3 against the number in matchups against Power 4 competition. They're a perfect 2-0 against non-Power 4 teams, and they have held those 2 teams, FCS Murray State and MAC team in Buffalo, to a combined 0 points. I think it's going to be difficult for the Minutemen in this matchup. And like you, Kev, don't think Missouri's offense lights it up into the 50s to scare this total by themselves. We'll stay under 54.5. Clemson team total over 40 and a hook for a Clemson offense that is rolling. Only 29 last week against Florida State. But a little bit weird if you dive into the matchup. The Tigers reached Florida State's red zone 5 times. They settled for 4 made field goals, a missed field goal, and another missed field goal attempted from the Noles 21-yard line. If they pay it off with touchdowns today against Wake Forest, who is the worst scoring defense in the ACC, they go over 40.5. Dylan Sampson, Tennessee's running back, 100+ rushing yards against a Florida rushing defense that was better against UCF. Sampson has been sensational this year. Trevor Etienne, over 85.5 rushing yards against the worst rushing defense in the SEC. That is Mississippi State. Think it's a discounted number. He had 88 yards against Auburn just a week ago. The big game best bets. That's next.
we're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board.
He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the what? Obviously, Terrence Channing Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach. Here from the Giants, but they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles, and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I have been stressing this throughout our 3 hours on college football today, but it is a huge Saturday here on October 12th on CFT. And we have deemed 5 games more significant than the rest. It's a wonderful slate through and through, but we've got 5 monumental matchups on this Week 7 Saturday. We start with a Big 12 bash in Boulder, and not just because it's Colorado or only a 3.5-point spread. This is a game that could dictate the conference championship race in the Big 12 this year legitimately. It's a 3.5-point spread, Kev, in favor of 18th-ranked K-State in Boulder tonight, where CU has been a great underdog under Deion Sanders in total over this last year and a half, 7-3 against the spread. We give you our best bets for this matchup. Where are you looking?
Yeah, so for me, it is Travis Hunter over 95.5 receiving yards. My favorite action in this one, off of his first game this season without 100 receiving yards. First time in his career, he caught 8 or more passes and did not have 100 yards. It's a clear and obvious bounce-back spot against the K-State team that has allowed 3 different receivers this season to have 125-plus against them. And again, this is the biggest game Colorado has played this year. I know you're saying I'm mentioning Colorado and wait list because of who they are. Not necessarily. They are here, though, in this spot because it's Deion. But it's a little different than when they took the college football world by storm last year. If they win this game, they'll be 5-1 and a ranked team after 7 weeks of college football. They will be knocking on the door of their win total, and again, not in the cutesy way they did last year.
Yeah,
this is so massive. I do lean K-State here, Joe, but, man, this is a monster game.
No, and defense has stepped up. They contained UCF. That was a rushing attack in UCF that was averaging well over 300 rushing yards per game, one of the tops in the country, almost 400 yards per game with the time that they played them. They're giving up 156 yards on the ground. I just go back to basics. This is a game where if you're for real K-State, you find a way to grind this game out. You have a mobile quarterback in and Avery Johnson did not step up on the road against BYU. I expect them to be a factor on the ground, through the air. I just like K-State in this match.
Joe, it's a great point. K-State still checking in as one of the front runners in the Big 12, but just to provide context, Colorado is 10-1, sixth best price in the Big 12 right now to win a conference crown. With a win tonight outright, they would be 3-0 in the league. It would be legitimate. A lot of exposure on the Buffs' price to win the Big 12 because of notoriety before the year. Did not seem realistic for a team with a win total of 5.5, but a win away from that with a win tonight. CU is truly in the hunt for a Big 12 crown.
And I'll add this before you get to your pick here, but the way the Big 12 looks, right? We talked about what is Colorado's ceiling. Well, Utah, who was the preseason favorite, is now comfortably behind a Colorado in this outright market here. Texas Tech is live. BYU, this is a conference that's been somewhat flipped on its head. So Colorado, again, it will not be cute ranked. With the talent and the early resume, you cannot overstate how big it'll be if they pull this off.
And they could make the college football playoff.
Yes,
That's still on the table. Last year when they lost, it was out.
Yeah.
Now, if they get this victory, they're on the table.
And they have shown some resolve from that loss against Nebraska to stay in it. Last year when things started to get off the tracks, they really did for CU. Not quite. However, the ground game has been better for the Buffs under new DC Robert Livingston. They're allowing a $156. It seems large. It's really not. Only 4.02 yards per carry compared to 184 last year. Improvement is improvement. But against quarterbacks, that's the issue. This number is gone. I bet it early this week. It's now 72.5 for Avery Johnson. So when you look at what he can do, 60-plus rushing yards in his last 3 games for K-State against power conference competition. But Colorado had allowed K.J. Jefferson to run for 76, Cam Miller, North Dakota State's quarterback, to run for 80-plus. Even Sawyer Robertson had 82 on the ground. He's not exactly the most mobile of the quarterbacks against Colorado. So it's a huge one in the Big 12 tonight in Boulder, 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Now we go chronological order. A game that probably should have been top 10, top 15 is not because of USC faltering last week in Minnesota. But the Trojans have an opportunity for a bounce-back spot against Penn State today. It's also a 3.5-point spread in Los Angeles. Total is low at 50.5. Kev, I know you think we see some points today.
I certainly do. I think both of these teams are staring across the best opponent they've played so far this year. Specifically, the best offense they have played so far this year. Lincoln Riley needs his group to bounce back, scoring under 20 on the road against Minnesota. But for the Nittany Lions, man, a chance to flex muscle. If you've been holding back the offense, now you let it go. Now Drew Aller slings it. Nick Singleton expected to be back in this game. We are only 2 points higher than when Penn State played Illinois. Come on now, 50.5 is way too light for these teams.
I already played it. I'm in on the over as well, but I like USC here in regards to this matchup. I do believe Miller Moss, even though statistically not as good as Drew Aller, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 65% completion percentage, is the more battle-tested quarterback in big games. If he could channel what he had against LSU, I think they win this ball game pretty convincingly, 7-10. If they step up and score first, I like USC.
Already third-ranked opponent that USC has seen this year. Big game for both head coaches. Lincoln Riley at his time in L.A., just 4-8 against ranked foes. Penn State happy. There's nothing here for USC, 12-26 under James Franklin. I think the issue for SC is still defending the run. They've given up a lot of yardage in their 3 Big Ten games. They are 1-2. Nick Singleton is back, over 65.5 rushing yards. Still Penn State's leading rusher, despite missing last week against UCLA. Both he and Katron Allen have the opportunity to eat today. Quickly here on Oklahoma and Texas as we dive into the Red River rivalry. The number 1 team in the country is a 2-touchdown favorite, laying 14.5 in the Cotton Bowl. Joe, is this game more competitive than the spread might say?
I think it is. They won it last year. That was with Dylan Gabriel, but they'll do it with defense. +8 in turnover margin. To my point, they're 5-1. They've won the turnover battle in every game that they won. That's the difference.
The difference this year, not only being an SEC game, both teams off a bye. Super Bowl style for OU. Their best effort here keeps them inside 14.5.
I think the defense wins the day for both if this number stays close. So I'll focus on Texas having one of the best defense in the country and say under 16.5 points for OU. More big game best bets up next.
we're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the what? Obviously, Terrence Jennings Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Saturday, October 12th. That date means something in the college football season. There's 3 ranked versus ranked top 25 tilts on this second full Saturday in October. 2 of them, a matchup between 2 top 15 teams with a home team in one of the great atmospheres and venues of college football in either spot is getting near a field goal at home. We start, Kev, with the top 15 tilt. 9th-ranked Ole Miss and 13th-ranked LSU. 3.5-point spread in favor of the Runnin' Rebs on the road in Death Valley, a night game. I said, Kev, but I got to go to you first. This is your game, Lisi guy. 3.5-point spread for a game at Tiger Stadium at night. Can you believe it?
I can believe it. We're going to be family tonight. We're going to be eating, and we're going to be staying brothers in arms on LSU because we talk about it. Ole Miss has not defeated LSU in Baton Rouge since 2008, the fact that Brian Kelly's coming out of a bye week. And here's the other factor. That defense for me, 13 total sacks over the last 3 weeks. Yeah. They've been opportunistic. Nussmeier eats, the offense eats, and that defense turns over Jackson Dart. We win it. High scoring, though.
Yeah, look, the real deal for me here is LSU at home with Brian Kelly off of a bye is an incredible spot. But if I'm betting LSU with Lisi, maybe I should just do it how he would. What, do you like Ole Miss here or something, Stevens? I mean, really? All right, interesting. Data bank.
All right, so listen, I will say this. Night games at Tiger Stadium, one of the best atmospheres in college football. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time kick. Where under Brian Kelly, LSU is 11-0 straight up in night home games. Since 1960, the win percentage is .788 for primetime games in Death Valley. Can Ole Miss cover the number? I don't know, but I think we see some points tonight because I am still a little bit spooked by this LSU defense. Ole Miss second best total offense in the country. 577 yards per game, one of 2, alongside Indiana, averaging 300 passing yards and 200 rushing yards per game. And LSU still needs to be better defensively. I think Ole Miss gets over 31.5. Could LSU also score 35 against a pretty solid Ole Miss defense?
Possible.
I do believe it is possible. A lot of points in this matchup. 5 of the last 7 over this number of 62.5. family, right?
Yeah,
all of
let's
us.
go.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Cross the bridge, come back.
Yeah, we'll come back across the
Let's
Hudson.
go.
I'll
There
see
you
you
go.
across the Hudson during the daytime hours as well.
If that USC over doesn't come in,
He's changing states to
Changing-
switch the algo.
So
changing state.
to end things out here, we have a potential game of the year on this Saturday, Week 7. It is 2 versus 3. It's third-ranked Oregon. It's second-ranked Ohio State inside Autzen Stadium tonight. 3-point spread, flat 3 in favor of the Buckeyes. Kevin Walsh, how do you see it?
Yeah, let me just get in and get out of the way. OSU team total under 28.5. 4 or 5 opponents have not scored over 14 against Oregon this year. I know Boise had 34. They had more of the football than they should have. And if you saw in that game, Maddox Masson under 4 yards per pass attempt. Will Howard will struggle through the air. Ball stays on the ground for both of these teams more than you would have thought, lowering the total here as well. But keying OSU under 28.5 points.
And if Jordan James pounds the rock like I think he will, that'll keep Will Howard on the sideline. So I like the look. I said Oregon plus the 3. I don't want the 3. Give me the 118 on the money line. I think Oregon does win this ball game outright. They have the veteran quarterback. We talk about how Oregon played around with the offensive line. 7 sacks after the first couple of weeks. They haven't allowed one now in the past 3 weeks. I think Dylan Gabriel, that defense as well by Dan Lanning, forced turnovers under Will Howard. That's the difference. Oregon outright, baby.
Saturdays like this one in college football, games like this one tonight in Eugene present an opportunity with the microscope on Ohio State. Ryan Day, you want to stay in Columbus? You're 61-8, but with all 8 losses against ranked foes, don't make it 9 tonight. I have picked Ohio State to win a national championship. If that is the case, Ohio State proves its muster tonight inside Autzen Stadium. Oregon just 1-4 against the spread this year. Have not covered in Big Ten games in either of their 2. Sure, you held Michigan State, a one-dimensional offense, and UCLA to 60 yards or less on the ground. Ask Ashton Genty what he put up against the Ducks defense. $192, 3 touchdowns, and Oregon allowed 34 points. Ohio State big tonight in Eugene, laying 3. That's what we do. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi, Ben Stevens. That does it for us on College Football Today. Week 7 starts right now.
And to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was thinking, but he had that program was only going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you